Everyone feels like they want to have that edge where they can focus and concentrate.
Coming up on WTV News, find out how some students here at Wartburg are using illegal drugs to get ahead in the classroom.
And science filled the Lyceum on Saturday night. We'll have all the sights and sounds from Wartburg's annual science demo.
We gotta get this game. Eerie.
And wrestling is out of the 2020 Olympics. We have reaction from the Wartburg wrestling team. Your WTV News starts now.
You're watching WTV News, live on Wartburg Television. From the Grant Price Studio. Breaking news, local coverage, and sports. This is WTV News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ben Hoppenworth.
And I'm Kyle Pomolia.
College can put a lot of pressure on students to succeed in their classes.
WTV's Danny Householder is here to tell us how some undergrads are improving their grades illegally. Danny?
Thanks, Ben and Kyle. College creates a competitive academic atmosphere, but this week I learned some students are picking up some bad habits just to stand out.
Getting high. You might think it looks like this. But what if I told you today's version of drug abuse looks more like this? It's called Adderall. Physician assistant Megan McMillan says the drug is usually prescribed to people with ADD to help them concentrate. And she says the extra focus Adderall provides is attracting other people to use it illegally.
People are inclined to take it if they don't need it, even because everyone feels like they want to have that edge where they can focus and concentrate.
The drug has become enormously popular on college campuses. The National Survey on Drug Use and Health says 25% of college students have used Adderall. A student whose identity will be concealed told WTV News he took Adderall illegally for a year. He says he struggled with distractions while studying, but that stopped once he started taking the drug.
I can actually sit down and get something done in an hour, and before it'd take an hour before I even would think about getting anything done, and I just get so much anxiety because I knew that any little thing would distract me.
So what's wrong with a drug that might help students succeed in the classroom? According to McMillan, a non-prescribed usage of Adderall can cause serious depression, dangerous increases in blood pressure, personality disorders, and sudden death. Because of its dangers, colleges want Adderall off their campuses. Wartburg's Student Life Office says the school hasn't caught anyone misusing Adderall, but our anonymous source says students are taking it illegally.
Yes, it is pretty popular. I think obviously around finals time people seek it out.
Maybe it's because we assume drug abusers don't look like this, but illegal Adderall users have remained unnoticed. Reporting for WTV News, I'm Danny Householder.
Wartburg Admissions Vice President Todd Coleman says the college is seeing an increase in students from around the United States. This year, the number of students from out of Iowa is 5% higher than other years. Coleman says the college is trying to recruit students from Texas, Colorado, and Arizona because they have a higher number of graduating seniors than Iowa does.
Demographics in the Midwest and in Iowa are declining. There's less high school graduates. So we continue to try to look to get our market share. As we kind of watched demographic trends, we knew that the decline was coming, and so we've been trying to branch out.
Many college campuses around the nation are racing to see who can reduce, reuse, and recycle the most on-campus waste. Wartburg Sustainability is having a campus competition as part of Recycle Mania as well. Whatever residence hall recycles the most will win a party for their dorm. It's very easy to get involved. All you have to do is recycle as much as possible.
8-week competition, and each week we report weights on how many cans and bottles, plastic, cardboard, trash, and organic waste we consume.
The Sexual Misconduct and Assault Resource Team hosted Sexual Responsibility Week last week. The week also included Sex Jeopardy and an information booth where students could learn about the responsibilities of sex.
You can always be educated, and a topic like this is really important to anyone's health. And even though it may seem scary or joking to some people, it's really important.
Kids of all ages got the chance to experience some hands-on science at Wartburg's 6th annual science show on Saturday.
Wartburg students performed science and physics-related demonstrations. WTV's Jeannie Edson took a look just to see what makes science so fun.
There are a lot of things I love about this. Certainly all the kids who come love this, and it's a great opportunity to share some science with them. It's also a great opportunity for the students who are involved. I think they get a lot out of it. I've heard students talk about how it makes them feel like a rock star when they're in front of all these kids and, you know, showing this great science.
We do try to get a lot of children here because we want to get them interested in the sciences at a young age. Show them that it isn't just all about, you know, all of the hard stuff, but more, you know, that there is a fun aspect to it.
And they were great at, you know, engaging in that counting down to 3, 2, 1, and we had some good volunteers, certainly with the hot ice demo, and so they're very well engaged. They did a good job.
I love to see their faces, you know, when we do something that they enjoy. They stand up, they try to get involved, answering the questions. It's cool to see them actually getting involved in the sciences.
And then, you know, it's just fun to watch things blow up.
Some Latin flair has been brought to Wartburg. Find out about one class that is bringing some culture to campus.
And we'll tell you about one local group of high school students who launched their way into a national competition. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
You're watching WTV News with Ben Hoppenworth, Kyle Palmolia, and Shelby Granath. This is WTV News.
One group of local students aimed for the sky and achieved huge success with their local club.
WTV's Kelsey Bemis visited with the WSR Rocketeers about building a rocket that got them recognized by NASA.
You've seen it in the movies. Kids achieving their dream of building a workable rocket. But can it be done in real life? Well, if you ask one group of Waverly teens, it can. The Waverly Shell Rock Rocketeers have accomplished what no other students in Iowa have. The challenge? To make a rocket launch 1 mile into the air with a specified load. It all started with an entry into a rocket challenge last year.
There were 2 of the seniors from last year that decided to start the engineering club. And we started out by entering the Team America Rocketry Challenge.
The Rocketeers were able to advance to a national competition in Virginia.
The national finals in Virginia last year, our flight was good enough to qualify us for that. And so we qualified to do the Student Launch Initiative this year.
The Student Launch Initiative presents data throughout the year to a team of NASA engineers.
We have to write reports, and then after each report, we have to present. It's over a webcam.
At each one, they've got the option to either approve it or deny it. So far, they've all been accepted, and we've gotten to move on.
While the group has seen much success, that is not to say there have not been challenges along the way.
We did a little bit of trial and error last year. Our first couple flights, we had some troubles. Yeah, you just gotta, every time if it fails, you just gotta go back. You gotta figure out what went wrong and how you can fix it and change it and then try again.
For now, the Rocketeers have their eyes on one goal: to achieve and surpass the success they saw in their first year. Reporting for WTV News, I'm Kelsey Bemis.
In addition to their NASA presentations, the Rocketeers will travel to Alabama for the National Tart Competition this spring. To follow their success, like the WSR Rocketeers Facebook page.
Students and professors had the chance to be auctioned off as a fundraiser for service trips last Tuesday. People being auctioned off showed off their talents, which included singing, dancing, and frisbee throwing. The highest date sold was student body president Hollis Hanson Pollock for nearly $90. All of the proceeds from the auction go directly to the winter break service trips.
The date auction is to raise money for service trips, which is, this year it's just for winter break service trips. So we basically, it's a new, innovative, well, not new, innovative, because we've done it before, but it's just a really fun way for everybody to get involved and to raise money.
ETK held its first annual Newlywed Game. The game tested students' knowledge of their best friends. The contestants were mostly best friends eager to prove that they knew each other best. Third-year Leah Arthur enjoyed the game a lot and said it would have been very difficult to answer some of the questions.
Personally, it probably would have been like the dream vacation question, because I feel like that changes a lot. Or like they'll say one thing and then it'll be the wrong thing that sticks in my mind.
Wartburg College bands are using Pinterest to find inspiration for their upcoming silent auction fundraiser. Crayon and musical artworks are a few of the ideas they found on Pinterest and they'll be making. The bands are raising money for their China and Japan May term trip. Band member Brittany Manning says they hope to raise around $6,000.
I think it says a lot about the group that we're willing to put the time in to hand make things for it instead of taking all donations.
Silent auction will be February 24th at 2 o'clock during a small ensemble concert in the chapel.
One group of students is having huge success through the power of dance. Salsa dancing classes at Wartburg have seen an increase in attendance. The group meets every 2 weeks in the Chapel Commons with as many as 50 people at a time. Fourth-year Christian Calme says students come to learn because of their curiosity to explore new cultures.
You're being exposed to something that perhaps you wouldn't see otherwise. You know, you see in TV, you see when you travel abroad, but it's hard to see that piece of culture coming to your place. So I feel like that's something, you know, just bringing that culture here.
When we return, a pope has resigned for the first time in 600 years. We have reaction from Wartburg's Catholic Knights group.
And we'll have reaction from head wrestling coach Jim Miller on the end of Olympic wrestling. The Pope's recent resignation has the Catholic Church and the media buzzing. Pope Benedict XVI announced his resignation last week, citing health concerns. This is the first time in 600 years a pope has resigned from his position as head of the Catholic Church. This action will impact Catholics worldwide, including Wartburg's own Catholic Knights group.
As far as students coming up with the new election, I think it's important for them to take this advantage to have a deeper look at their faith and also to understand the church that they're a part of.
A meteor streaked through the skies over Russia Friday morning with an explosion of white light and a deafening roar. The number of injured is still rising. More than 700 people were hurt. Most of the injuries are not considered serious. The shockwave was so intense it shattered the glass in hundreds of buildings.
Police in Indianola have released the dash cam video of the crash that ended a high-speed chase on Friday. The video shows a car speeding through the city at 130 miles per hour and then slamming into an unoccupied squad car. The driver died, but his 5-year-old child inside the car did survive. South African Blade Runner Oscar Pistorius is charged with killing his girlfriend. The body of 29-year-old Riva Steenkamp was found in Pistorius' home early Thursday in Pretoria. Police say they charged him with her murder the next morning when he appeared in Pretoria Magistrates Court. Pistorius will not be up for bail for confidential reasons.
And snow may be covering most of Minnesota's golf courses, but that hasn't stopped a group of golf fans from getting in a few holes. If you replace fairways with greens, snow, and ice, you have a unique golfing experience. Each player is given a tennis ball, which the goal of being to get the ball down the ice and into a hole any way you can. And now let's go over to Shelby Granath for a look at what's coming up next in sports.
Thanks, Ben. Coming up next in sports, both basketball teams were in action against some tough Iowa Conference opponents, and I have all the highlights. Your WTV Sports is next. Welcome back to WTV News. Last week, both the men's and women's basketball teams had a few key conference games. We'll start with the women's team on Wednesday at home against Buena Vista. Bailey O'Brien helps the Knights get the early 8-3 lead here with a nice jumper. But BV would go on a 10-0 run to take the lead for the first time in the game. O'Brien takes the momentum away from the Beavers as she gets the rebound and takes it all the way herself to tie the game at 16. At halftime, the Orange and Black led 29-25. BV takes the lead here as Susan Kais gets the layup early in the second half. Wartburg would respond with some hot hands off the bench as Bobby Burrows drains one of her second half three-pointers here, and in the end, the Knights won by a final of 71-58. The leading scorers in this one were Carly Jacobs with 17 points and Burrows with 13. Then on Saturday, the Knights headed to Decorah to take on the Norse from Luther. It was a big game for Wartburg, and the Orange and Black would not disappoint. The Knights were up 32-30 at the half, but in the second half, the Norse were up 45-39. Wartburg went on an 8-0 run at the end of the game to pull off the 70-63 victory. O'Brien and Kladivo led the Knights with 15 and 11 points respectively. With that win, the women's team clinched the number 2 seed in the Iowa Conference tournament. Wartburg will host the winner of Dubuque and Luther in the IIAC semifinals Thursday at home. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Wednesday was a big test for the men's basketball team as they were just 1 game behind conference-leading Buena Vista. And it was the Beavers who they were up against. Let's get right to those highlights. It was BV who would come out hot in this one as they had the early 9-3 lead. Brandon Flanor tries to get the Knights within striking distance by nailing the jumper here. The Beavers' 3-point shooting was next to none on Wednesday as they take the 26-11 lead. Here, Mitch Murphy finds an open Trevor Dismore who gets the reverse lay-in. At halftime, the Beavers had a 17-point lead, and Dismore tries to give the Knights some hope with this rebound back up for a lay-in, but it wouldn't be enough as Wartburg falls 71-61. Flanor led the orange and black with 17 points, and like the women, the men headed to Luther on Saturday to take on the rival Norse. Wartburg was up early thanks to a few 3-pointers from Drew Crawford. However, in the second half, Luther led by 11, and the Knights would not be able to come back as they recorded their 3rd straight double-digit loss by a final of 78-61. With that loss, the Knights are now the 4 seed in the Iowa Conference tournament. They will host Co tomorrow night in the quarterfinals. Like the women, tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Wartburg hosted its own final home indoor track meet of the year last weekend. On the women's side, the number 2 Knights dominated as they won with 300 points. Now in comparison, Monmouth came in 2nd place with only 131 points. The Orange and Black won 8 events, including the 400, 800 mile and 3,000-meter run, 60-meter hurdles, triple jump, and shot put. The 4x400 meter relay team consisting of Carly Cochran, Kayla Craigle, Caitlin Mullenbrook, and Kendra Craigle also won. The number 19 men's team also demolished its competition, finishing in 1st with 237 points. Wartburg won 4 events, including the mile run, 60-meter hurdles, high jump, and shot put. The Orange and Black will return to action this weekend at the Iowa Conference Championships at the University of Dubuque. And finally, wrestling is over for the area high schools as the state tournament wrapped up Saturday in Des Moines. Waverly Shell Rock placed 4th with 92 points. The big highlight of the weekend for the Go Hawks was Spencer Deerfield winning the championship by a final score of 9-4 at 152 pounds. 2 other Go Hawks made it to the finals, Bryce Steyert and Adam Walther. At 132 pounds, Steyert wrestled 7 rounds in the championship, but unfortunately he fell by a close score of 7-6, taking 2nd in state. At 195 pounds, Walther fought the whole match, but he would fall just short and lose by a final of 5-4, also taking 2nd place. Now for the full story about how WSR wrestlers did, check out Sports Night tomorrow night. We'll be right back.
The International Olympic Committee announced that wrestling will not be in the 2020 Olympics.
People across the country, and especially in the state of Iowa, are obviously upset about the decision. Sports Director Shelby Granath is back with us for more on this surprising development.
Guys, last week I sat down with Wartburg wrestling coach Jim Miller and a few wrestlers to hear their reaction about this decision. We all have a passion.
Wrestling has been the life lesson teacher of my life.
We all have dreams.
When I was growing up, I used to wrestle and live with my brother, 7, 8 years old, pretend like we're in the Olympic finals.
We all have that one thing we live for.
You go to Texas and it's what, football, baseball. Here it's wrestling. If you take away that, everyone's gonna freak.
So what would happen if all those things were taken away?
I woke up at 6 to run in the morning, and I checked Twitter, and that's the first thing I read, and I was like, what?
I felt like I got kicked in the gut, and I thought it was a joke. I really did. I was astounded.
Last week, the International Olympic Committee voted to cut wrestling from the 2020 Olympic Games. Even though the sport has roots in the ancient Greece Games and it has been a part of every Olympics since they began in 1896. This has left a lot of people wondering if wrestling should have even been one of the sports considered to cut.
Not in my opinion. My goodness, man. It's a bedrock sport.
When it comes to wrestling, I mean, how much harder do you want to get? How much more of a dedicated person do you want?
So what happens now to all those hopes and dreams of young wrestlers, those truly affected by this decision?
What are these kids going to look forward to? Like, they need a reason to wrestle, you know? And Olympics is always in the back of your mind when you're young.
That, you know, they're pointing, they want a shot at trying to make an Olympic team and compete in the Olympic Games. And right now, that's really obviously knocked them off the track right now.
Coach Miller feels there's only one thing to do.
The trickle-down effect, if it doesn't get changed for the sport of wrestling in the U.S., it just could be disastrous. It really could, you know. So we got to get this changed. Period.
Now, Shelby, I understand this decision isn't necessarily final. What can wrestling fans do to get wrestling back in the Olympics?
Well, there are a number of Facebook and Twitter pages for Save Wrestling in the 2020 Olympics, but the one that Dan Gable just started is letskeepwrestling.com, and you can go and sign a petition, just fill out your name and say that you want to keep wrestling in the Olympics.
All right, thanks a lot, Shelby. Coming up next week on WTV News, Bruce Braley will be back on campus with Scott Seipker from the Iowa Nice video. They'll be speaking in Buckmaster tomorrow at 7:30, and we'll also take a look at a drinking disorder called drunkorexia that could be a problem on our campus.
All right, and thank you for joining us. Have a good night.